Today I'm going to show you how to make a tic-tac-toe clone purely using vanilla JavaScript and very minimal CSS. That's because most interviews prefer to do it this way, and so you will also learn how to implement this within a very short time limit. I will also simplify the approach as much as possible and show you how easy it is to make something like this. Building a tic-tac-toe clone really helps in polishing your UI level vanilla JavaScript skills. Okay, so here's the basic setup of the project. You can see an index.html file, script.js and styles.css. I'm going to start writing the index.html file. I'm going to use the mth snippet to generate the HTML tags, and then after this I'm just going to go down here. Let me just decrease the zoom size a bit. Then I'm going to go over here and I'm going to add the link so that I can integrate my CSS file. And all I'm going to do over here is I'm going to say rel equals to style sheet, and I'm going to add the href equals to nothing but the /styles.css. After that, all I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to my body, and at the bottom I'm going to write a script tag. Script is going to have nothing but the src. Src is going to point to the script.js file. Now before we go ahead to write the code, I just want to create the layout of the website. So first of all, we're going to have a class of wrapper. This is going to wrap the entire UI that you see on the screen, and then within that we need three things. You can see the three things are: first is going to be the result of the match, then the board, and then the restart button. So we need to create it in that order. First of all I'm going to do is I'm going to make a div for the game result. That's going to be a class of nothing but game result style, and then it's going to have an ID of nothing but game result. And then after that I'm going to go down and I'm going to add the container for the board. This is going to be nothing but class container, and this can also have an ID, and I'm going to name it nothing but container. After this, what I'm going to initially do for now is I'm going to add 9 divs, which is going to have a class of box, and those 9 divs are going to signify each of these boxes that you see. All right, so they're going to have a class of box, and I'm adding the 9 divs manually right now because I want to, when I make the CSS now, I want to show you the UI getting rendered out on the screen. So once I do that, I'm going to remove those 9 divs and I'm going to add those 9 divs in the script.js file dynamically. So just for the purpose of showing you the UI by styling it, I'm going to add the 9 divs manually for now, and then later on we are going to remove all of it and add them, loop through and add them dynamically, because we want to follow the pure vanilla JavaScript approach, right? So I'm going to make a class of box within the container. This is nothing but the board. I'm going to paste this 9 times. All right, and then after this, the last one is the restart button. I'm going to give this a class of nothing but restart style. This is also going to have an ID of restart. Alright, so now we are done with the HTML. This is all for the HTML, pretty simple and self-explanatory. We'll be removing all of this soon. Now let's move on to the styling. The styling is also pretty simple. All I'm going to do is I'm going to make the wrapper, and the wrapper will have nothing but a width of 100 dw, and then we'll have a height of 100 dh, an overflow of hidden, and display of flex, because we want everything to be centered. So we will add column first, and then we'll align everything in a centered way. Line item center. This is all for the wrapper. Then we are going to go to the container. The container is going to have a margin of 50 px and 0 px. So this container on top will have 50 and bottom will have 50 px. And then I'm going to give it a display of grid, and then a height of nothing but fit content, and then justify content of center, because I want everything, the boxes within that particular grid, between all those grids to be centered. Then I'm going to give it an align content of center, and I want a 3x3 grid, so I'm going to give it a grid template columns of nothing but repeat 3, auto. After this, I'm going to go down to the box, I'm going to style the individual boxes. So this is the reason why I have initially put all these boxes over here, so that I can show you the UI getting rendered out. So what I'm going to do now is each individual box is going to have a width of say 100 px, a height of 100 px, and then a border of 1 px solid black, and then a display of flex, justify content of center, align items of center. We want everything to be perfectly centered, that's why, and it's going to have a cursor of pointer, and then we're just going to add a font size of somewhere around 30 px and a font weight of nothing but 600. Okay, this is going to be individual X and O's font size and font weight. After that, I'm going to go down and let's just check what we have. First of all, this is the actual build. I'm going to go to our current build. In our current build, I'm going to refresh this. There you go. You can see we have rendered out this board, but this board still has these borders on the sides. We just need to find a way to remove all these on the sides so that we can only keep this part. So that's also pretty simple. I'm going to show you how that's done. We are going to basically select the child elements. I'm going to do box nth child. So first of all I'm going to do is I'm going to access the first child, and then I'm going to go and do box. There's a pretty good shortcut for this. Just hold on to this. I'm going to show you. Box 2 and then dot box nth child number 3, and for all these three we are going to do nothing but border top none. All right, so if I do this, you can see these parts have become none. Now I need to find a way to make this and this none, this and this none. Now we don't want to go and do everything manually, so for that there's a pretty simple way. It's a good shortcut. All I'm going to do is box nth child 3n plus 1, and for that I'm going to do nothing but border left of none. All right, so now you can see these parts are gone. So it just basically means 3n plus 1 means when n is 0, it's gonna go and catch the first one. This is the first one, and it's gonna remove the left border, and the top one we had already removed. Then when n is 1, it's gonna go to the fourth one. So 1 2 3 4. For the fourth one, it's going to remove the left one again, and so on. So we can do the same thing for this side also. The code for that is nothing but 3n plus 3, and we need to remove the right one, right none. If I go and check, you can see the right one is gone now. And now for the last three, we'll do it the same way as we did it for the first three. That's going to be nothing but we are going to select the last child, the 7th child, and the 8th child, and we're going to make the border bottom to none. If I save this, you can see now we have the perfect board. These bottom three divs, the bottom three borders were removed, and this is exactly how we wanted. So we have the board set up. Now we can go ahead and add the styles for this game result and the restart button. It's going to be pretty simple. We want to keep these styles simple. So I'm just gonna go and add the game result style, and that's going to be nothing but it's gonna have a font size of nothing but around 30 px. It's gonna be pretty simple style and a font weight of 600. That's all. After this, I'm going to add the restart button style. The restart style, this is going to have nothing but a visibility of hidden initially, because we want it to be visible when we click when the game is basically over or it's a draw. So initially it will have a visibility of hidden, and font size, and these will be the stylings for that restart button when it becomes visible back again. So padding is going to be nothing but 10 px of that button, border of 2 px solid black, and then a border radius of 3 px, and a cursor of pointer. All right, and now all we have to do is we just have to add another class named show, and I'm gonna make the visibility to visible. So whenever I click on the restart button, I'm going to append this show class over here in this ID restart. I'm going to append that show class to this restart style so that it becomes visible. I'm going to show you how to do that in some time. All right, so this is the so you cannot see the result in the restart button now, because we want to render them dynamically based on conditions. So this is all for the styling and the index.html. Now we can move to the logic part of the code. All right, so now let's go ahead and build out the logic in the script.js file. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to first select the container that we have, because we need to append the boxes into it. Since I told you I'll be removing all those div class boxes. So all we need to do is document dot get element by id, and I'm going to select the container. There you go. And then I'm going to also make a selector for the game result. Game result equals to, I'm gonna do the same thing over here. I'm gonna name this game result, and we also need to select the restart button which we had. Call this restart, and the selector is going to be restart. After that, I'm going to make another variable over here, boxes. It's going to contain all the boxes, and I'm also going to make another variable. I'm going to name it x turn, and I'm going to initiate it with nothing but true. So initially we want the first turn to be x, so I'm just going to keep this as true. All right, so now what we can do is we need to what I'm going to do here is I'm going to remove all these boxes, as I had told you. Since you can see this UI, this has been rendered. Now we need to render this dynamically using vanilla.js, so I'm going to remove this. All right, now we need to append those boxes to this container. So how are we going to do that? Basically, first of all, I'm going to call a start game function. This is going to run in the beginning. I'm also going to add a restart.add event listener, and it's going to be nothing but click, just to detect the click for the restart button. And I'm going to say I'm going to pass it to the start game, because whenever we click on the restart button, we again want to start the game, right? So this restart button will also call the start game function, and we are gonna pass it a type of restart, because when we first time load the page, the start game is going to be called. So we need to be able to differentiate between when the start game is receiving restart or when it is not going to be a type of restart. So when it loads initially, I'm just going to pass in an empty string, so that when this is passed, we can know that the type is empty. So it means it was not a restart type. It means that the user just loaded the page and they're playing the game for the first time. All right, all we need to do is we need to make the start game function, call this start game, and then I'm going to pass type as the argument. And all I'm going to do for now is, first of all, I'm going to make a variable let box, and then I'm going to loop through 9 times. I'm going to loop through 9 times less than 9, because we want 9 boxes. And for each of them, all I'm going to do is something like this box equals to document dot create element, and that's going to be nothing but a div. We are going to create a div. We have already created the styling for the box class, so I'm just going to add the class name of box to this box div we created. So box.classlist.add is going to be nothing but box. All right, this is nothing but the class name, and this box is nothing but the individual box div. We just assigned it to a variable. After that, sorry, this needs to be box actually, not boxes. All right, after that, all we need to do is we need to go to the container, and we need to append each of them, and we need to append the box. All right, I'm gonna save this. I think this should be it. All right, you can see even though I removed this from the index.html, still showing the UI properly, because I am looping through it over here and displaying the boxes. Okay, so now after that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the on-click event listeners on each of these boxes. So within this for loop itself, all I'm going to do is I'm going to do the box dot add event listener, and I'm going to check for the click event, and within that I'm going to call handle click, and handle click will have another property, once of true. All right, now what is this once of true? This once of true is basically whenever the user okay, there is this error because we have to make this handle click function. First of all, just going to define the function handle click. I'm going to keep it empty for now. So basically what happens is, if I set once to true, then when I click over here on any of these boxes, it's only going to trigger one click. So if I click on this box twice, it's not going to consider that click twice, because in this game when I select X over here, when I click this and I select X, for example, then I should not be able to click on this again and do anything else. Once I select, that is going to be my answer. So that's why I've added the once true, so that per box only one event will be triggered. One on click event will be triggered basically. All right, so this handle click will have the E event as the argument, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to select to current box is nothing but E dot target. This is going to be each of those individual boxes. So after this, all I'm going to do is I'm going to go down and I'm going to set a condition. This condition is going to be pretty self-explanatory. As you remembered, I had added this x turn is equals to true. So all I'm going to say is if x turn, so this means if it's the x's turn, then I'm going to make current box dot inner text equals to x. All right, and else if it's not x turn, if it's o's turn, then I'm going to make current box dot inner text equals to o. Okay, and once this has become equals to x, I'm going to change the x turn to false, because the next time when we click on any box, we are going to see x turn has become false. So then it's going to add the o, it's going to swap and add the other one, the other choice. So by just doing that, if I go to my browser and I click anywhere, there you go, you can see x and o are coming, right? It's adding the inner text, but you can see here it's not swapping these values. What could be the reason behind that? That's because we haven't added x turn equals to true back here again, so it gets stuck at o. So if I click now again, you can see we are getting it properly. All right, now we need to add the logics, like when the game will be over, when it's a win, when it's a draw. Let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to set the current selection letter that I have now. So I'm just going to create a variable current selection, and that's going to be nothing but the current box dot inner text. So if whether I am currently an X or an O, it's going to store it within the current selection. And then I'm going to make a variable named when. This is going to be equal to check win or not. So this will be a function, and we're going to pass the current selection to it. This function will check for us whether it's a victory or not, right? So all we can do after that is we have put this inside. This is going to return basically a boolean type if it's a win or not. So we can do if win, then do something, and if it's not a win, then we can just check else if it's is something like is game draw, and this is also going to be a function. It's going to return a boolean. If it's game draw, then we need to do something. So now we know that if it's a win or it's a draw, in both cases the game is going to be over, right? So basically if it's game win or draw, we're going to call a function game over, and in this game over, I'm going to pass a type as win. Like this type is going to have win with the current selection being passed, which is the X or O, whichever that's selected currently. And similarly, if it's a draw, it's again still a game over, but just to differentiate, I'm going to add this type as draw, and I'm going to pass the current selection. All right, pretty self-explanatory. Okay, so we can first of all go ahead and create the check win or not function that we have, because only after that it's going to check for these counterparts, right? So let's go down here. I'm going to make a function, and I'm going to say check win or not. It's going to have the current selection, and then within this, it's going to be a pretty simple one. So how do we check whether a player has won or not? There are certain combinations over here for which a user wins. So those combinations are nothing but something like this. If it's this box, and this box, like this, and this. If these three are X or O's, then it's a victory. Similarly, if these threes are X or O's, it's a victory. These threes are X or O's, it's a victory. So there are basically these are possible combinations, and only in these certain combinations the victory will be possible. So they're going to be nothing like 0, 1, 2 or 0, 3, 6, and similarly for these, whatever the indexes it will be. So we need to make all these possible combinations and store them in an array, and then in check win or not, we will be traversing through all those winning combinations, and then for each winning combination we will loop through those combinations and see if those combinations, if those index of combinations have the same current selection, which is, and the current selection is nothing but the X or O. So what I'm talking about right now is, I'm going to go on top, I'm going to make a variable winning, let's just call it winning combinations, and we're gonna go ahead and add all the winning combinations. All right, so I just added all the winning combinations. These are all the possible winning combinations. So now all we need to do is, we need to, and this is nothing but an array of array, so array of arrays. So all we need to do is, in check win or not, we need to iterate through these winning combinations, and for each of those combinations, like for each of these arrays, we need to check that if in the 0th position of this combination, if in the 0th position the value is X, if in the first position the value is X, and if in the second position the value is again X, then it means it's a victory, right? And then we just need to directly return from that instead of going through each of these. So that is basically what we need to do. We need to iterate through this array and then through each of these combinations, and in any combination where all the three elements are the same, as in if all the three letters, which is X or O, are the same, then that means the person won, right? And draw will, for the draw condition, it's going to be a little bit different. I'm going to show you what, but first let's just write the code for the check win or not function. So all we are going to do is, we're going to do return winning combination dot sum. Sum is important because sum is going to help us return whether it's true or false, and the moment it hits the condition, it's directly going to return away from it without iterating any more further. And that's what we exactly want. The moment we find a combination which has all true in it, like all of those values as the current selection, then we don't need to iterate any further. So I'm going to call this combination. For that, after that, we can just set this correct combination equals to combination over here, combination. All right, and then we just need to return this. We need to go through the combination. Now each combination within this winning combination is going to be an array. So we just need to iterate through these combination using combination dot every. So we need to iterate through each element within each combination. After this, all we need to do is, we need to check that for each of these boxes, okay, for each of these boxes inner text, if it is equal to the current selection, right? So current selection is being passed over here. The current selection is going to be the current X or O, right? So if it's my turn and I am X right now, so when I click X, suppose when I click X over here, all right, so it's going to go to check win or not, and then for every combination which I have, amongst which this is also a combination, it's going to check if this box's inner text is equal to the current selection, which is X, and then it's again gonna go to this one and to check if it's equal to the current selection, and then respectively over here, if it's equal to the current selection, if that's true, it's going to return us true. Sum is gonna stop and it's going to give us check win or not is true. So that is what we need to do. So for that, we need to populate this boxes variable that we have. So over here, iterated through each of the 9 elements and created the box, right? So after this, the boxes have been created. Individual boxes have been created. So we just need to assign it to the boxes variable. So it's going to be nothing but boxes equals to document dot query selector all, and we are going to select the individual box. Right, so this boxes now is going to have all the individual box, and this is going to be a node list. So now what we need to do is, we need to go down here over here to check win or not. And now since we have the boxes containing each of those box, all I'm gonna do is, since every is going through each of those combination, right? So this combination dot every is going to go through each of these, right? And the sum is going to go through each of these, but the combination dot every is going to go through each of these elements one by one. So I'm going to do nothing but boxes of item, right? This item for the first one is going to be 0, then 1, and then 2. So then we are going to check if boxes of item is equal to the current selection. All right, it's pretty simple. We have added this correct combination over here. I'm going to explain you why I did that. First of all, I'm going to add this over here, and I'm going to tell you soon why I have made this as it is. We are storing the correct combination that we require, and as we go ahead, I'll tell you why I have done that. So now basically check win or not will return true if the condition matches, if any of the boxes altogether have the same element. Just to check that, what we can do is we can go over here and we can do a console.log of win. So before we go ahead and check that, I just realized I've made a mistake over here. This needs to be .inner text, because each individual box's item .inner text needs to be equal to the current selection, because current selection is nothing but the individual X or O. So yeah, now let's go and check if we get the output at console win or not every time we win the match. I'm going to select this, and this is game draw is obviously not defined yet, so that's why this error is being thrown. We will make the function after a while. Now if I put over here X, O, and X, there you go, you see the console win is getting printed. So we are almost more than halfway done with our main logic. We just have a few more things to do. For example, now if I put O over here, it's going to return win again, but we need to end the game when this, in any one of these letters win. So let's go ahead and do all of those. So first of all, I'm going to remove this console log that I have over here, and then I'm going to start defining these two functions. All right, and then game over, let's go ahead and create the game over function. To create function game over, nothing but it's going to be a function. This needs to be an n, my bad, n, and then this is going to have nothing but a type and the current selection. So now this game over, we are going to check if type equals to the win type, and for that we need to do something else. If the type is win, we need to display the text of the particular letter which won the game. So we have this game result over here, right? Game result selected, so this is going to be the text element on top which gets displayed. So I'm just going to say game result dot inner text is equal to current selection, which is going to be the X or currently selected X or O, and then I'm going to add wins the match. All right, so all this is going to do is if I win a match, there you go, you can see X wins the match. So that's all we have to do for the win condition. And if it's not a win, which means it's a draw, then for that condition all we need to do is we need to do game result dot inner text equals to nothing but we can put something like match draw. Once the game is draw, or if there's a victory, we also need to make sure that user is not able to click anywhere on this tic-tac-toe board, so that they're not able to select anything or do any additional thing. So for that we just need to do, once game is over, container dot style dot pointer events, and we are gonna set that to none. So it means that no mouse events and all can be applied on that particular container. And we are also going to do restart dot class list dot add the show. So this is going to make the restart button visible, like I had spoken about it before. So this basically means that if I go ahead and I win the match, it's going to add this button over here, the restart one. But as you can see here, we do not have the text for the restart over here. So what we can do is we can just go back here, we can just add the restart text. We do that and we try it again, you can see the restart comes and the name of the match also comes. So we have a few more things to do, but first of all, before I show you that, now you can see I'm not able to select any other answer if we have won the game, because I have added the pointer events none I've added the pointer events to none when the game is over. So now we need to work on the restart functionality. When restart happens, this entire board should clear up, this should also clear up, and we should be able to restart the game again. And apart from that, we also need to check for this is game draw. We have said else if is game draw, then it should go to the draw, but we aren't checking when the is game draw is gonna occur, so we haven't created the function for this yet. Let's go ahead and create this function as well. It's going to be nothing but function is game draw, and this function is going to do nothing but it's going to iterate through each of those boxes that we have. Those boxes are going to have each and every box, so we need to iterate through each of those boxes, and we need to see if each of those boxes have an inner text of X or O, right? If any of those boxes, each of those boxes have any of these inner texts, so basically it means each of these boxes are filled, then it is a draw. Because if it's a win, then it would be over here only, but if it's coming here, that means each of these boxes are filled, and it depicts that it is a draw. So all we need to do for that is we need to return, and we need to do boxes dot every, and then it's going to be for each individual box. For that, box dot inner text equal if inner text is X, or box dot inner text equals to O. Like if any of this is present, then it should return us is game draw as true. And also one more thing, this boxes is a node list, right? When we do query selector all, we get a node list, so we need to convert it to an array to use the dot every method. We cannot use a dot every method on a node list. So all we have to do is we can just destructure each elements from these boxes into an array. This will convert it into an array. Make sure you can check my destructuring video. I'll link it in the cards above if you want to know exactly how this works. All right, so now if I go ahead and we check for the draw condition, let's see if we get that. There you go, you get the match draw and the restart for that as well. So we are able to check for the draw condition as well. So we are done with the win condition, the draw condition. Now all we have left to do is we need to make sure that when I restart, you see when I restart, it's adding this again. We don't need to do all that. When we restart, this board should be cleared out and we should get to start everything from the same container all over again. Now let's see how to do that. So right now restart, what it's doing is it's calling this start game, and it's basically appending all these boxes all over again. That's why, you know, the restart added multiple boxes, same thing twice. So basically in the start game, all we need to do is we need to put a condition over here for each of those loops, that if type is equal to restart, then we need to do something, else we need to do something. Now the else is pretty much going to contain everything that we had over here. All right, and then if the type is equals to restart, then we just need to reset the board. So we can call something like reset values, and we can pass the I variable which we have, function reset values, and it's going to take the I variable, and within this we just need to reset everything. So what are the things we need to reset? We first need to make sure the container dot style dot pointer events becomes nothing but unset, so that we are again able to click on those pointer events. Right now, for this to work, we also need to remove the event listener which we had added, because if we don't remove the event listener, then when the new board comes up, it's still going to have once equals to true from the previous event listener. So we still won't be able to, you know, click anything, because once is going to be true. So we need to remove the old event listener. So to do that, all we gotta do is we need to go through each and every boxes of I, and we need to do remove event listener, and we are going to check for the click event, and we are going to remove the handle click function. All right, then after this we need to go to each of those boxes. I mean, this is all going to happen at once since it's iterating one by one. Boxes dot inner text, and whatever we had in those boxes, we need to set it to empty, so no X and O's will be present. And also we need to go to the game result, which is the X wins or O wins the match text. We need to set that inner text to empty as well, and then we need to change the X turn equals to true back again. The last one was O, then we need to set it back to X equals to true when the game is over, so that when the new game starts and the user clicks, X is going to come as the first value again. We also need to remove the restart. When once we have clicked restart, the restart should go away after that, right? So in the reset values, we're going to do class list dot remove, and we are going to remove the show, so it's going to make it hidden back again. All right, I think this is all we need for the restart. Let's just check. I'm going to add this. All right, we can get X wins the match. When I click restart, there you go. There you see both of these go away, but the board is still not empty. Now, why is that? It says cannot read properties of undefined add event listener in line number 32. So basically what's happening here is that when the restart condition goes, at that time it's resetting all the values, and when everything's reset, this box is no more available, right? Because everything's reset and it's gone. So this becomes undefined. This is not present. So we need to check for something else instead of this box when restart is there. So what we need to do is basically we can just do something like this. The boxes still has all the individual box, but this box specifically is not populated anymore, not being used anymore since it's for this restart case. So this is staying undefined. So what we need to do is we have the boxes, and the boxes in the DOM have all the box. So what we can do is boxes of I, right? So it will be box or boxes, whichever one's true, it will follow for that. So when I go here and do it again, all right, and when I click reset, you see everything just went away. So yeah, this works perfectly fine. Let's try it again. X, so we get match draw. If I click reset, everything goes away again, and now without refreshing, if I again play the game, it works fine. Starts with X. Now the element that when we clicked first started with X, as you saw, and now it came. We can restart and play as many times as we want, and it will all render perfectly fine. But there's one more thing that's left. As you can see, when I win, I wanted this background to become blue for the lines which won the match, for example like this. So how to do that? That's also pretty easy. All I'm gonna do is remember, do you guys remember why I made a correct combination variable on top and I stored the correct combination here? So basically whenever sum returns true, right, when we get the correct combination for all the elements, so I made sure to set that combination to a variable. So what we need to do is we have the correct combination variable which has all the correct combination. We just need to iterate through those, and we need to set the background color for those current combinations boxes to light blue. That's pretty simple. So all we need to do is whenever we win, it's gonna go down here. I'm going to go to correct combination dot every, and I'm going to access each item, and for each of those item I'm going to set the boxes of item. So this item is going to denote all that one combination that turned out to be correct. So boxes of item dot style dot background, so it's going to make each of those individual boxes and change its background to nothing but light blue. All right, let's check it out now. There you go. You can see the elements whose the one row or column which turned out to be correct, they had their background color set as light blue. So yeah, now if I restart, everything works fine. Okay, there's one more thing. If I restart, you can see that the blue background isn't going. So all we have to do is pretty simple as well. We just need to reset all those values as well for the background color. So it's pretty simple. All we have to do is go through the correct combination we had, dot every, and each item, and we're gonna do nothing but boxes of each item dot style dot background, right? Yeah, background equals to none. And now if I go back and I check, I'm gonna do this, we get the blue color, and if I restart, the color also goes away. So yeah, this is all for it, I guess. We have built it. Now you can see X as the different background color, and the winner is being displayed along with the restart. If I restart it, I'm gonna restart, and everything just works perfectly fine. So yeah, this is all about the build. It was pretty simple, and I tried to explain it in the best possible way I could. We could easily do this within 15 minutes, but just because I had to explain you the approach, it stretched up a little bit, but it's all mainly done purely using vanilla JavaScript. The CSS is just being used to render this UI and the text and the button. That's all. So this is how we do it using pure vanilla JavaScript, and in the interview, this is the approach we have to use to solve something like this. This is the way the interviewer would prefer us to do it in. So yeah, that's all for this video. If you enjoyed it, please don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. Until then, peace.